Okay, thank you all for joining in today. Today is our episode number 5. This is free SCCM training provided by How to Manage Devices community. And my name is Anup, and I'll be working through some of the configuration steps of SCCM or configuration manager in today's episode, right? So before getting into SCCM stuff, let's go through the how to manage devices community uh, in 2 minutes probably, right? Before that, I have put a link in the chat window. Probably you can look into that. You will get an opportunity to win some free coupons, right? So that would be very very nice thing probably for you, right? Okay, so this is our team, how to manage devices community team, and we have couple of more people. I have not got time to include them into the picture, but yeah, so you can go into this particular URL to get more, to know more about them. Okay, so let's move into our forum, right? If you have any questions related to this training, related to SCCM, related to Intune, basically device management, right? You can use this particular forum, right? How to manage devices.com, this forum, to ask your questions, right? So we will be available to help you, right, whenever possible. Okay, so this is our latest list of superheroes, I would say, right? So as you can see, like we have a point system and we have a badge system also over here. So some of them are experts, some of them are professionals, some of them are beginners, right? Who is kind of answering questions and asking questions, etc., etc., right? So feel free to answer, and feel free to ask questions also. If you know the answer, try to answer them and get into this kind of a community world, right? So and we can try to kind of promote you as a community contributor, right? uh, Globally, okay, rather than replaying in WhatsApp groups. So that will kind of end up in the WhatsApp group itself, right? The entire community, global community, might not be aware of your contributions to the community, right? So this is the right way to start that kind of a contribution. If you have answers or if you have questions, we will be there to answer. And if you have answers which we don't know, probably you would be able to answer those questions and get some points and get some badges, right? Okay, so that's it. And we already have this is the stats of 7 weeks. This is the seventh week we are running this the forum. We started the forum back 7 weeks back. Okay, so this is the stats. Okay, so let's give you a recap of initial episodes of this training, right? We took a subscription, trial subscription. We talked about a trial subscription of Azure, and we are building all these SCCM servers in Azure subscription, right? And you as you can see over here, we built a resource group, virtual network, subnets and domain controller server we build, then SCCM plus SQL server we have to build Windows 10, right? That we will do at the later part of the training. Okay, so we are accessing these lab environments and SCCM servers through a service called Azure Bastion. So this is not a RDP service, but this is a service hosted in Azure itself, right? So you don't need to open RDP ports or something like that to connect to SCCM server. Okay. So with that, let me go back to the what do you call, the portal, Azure portal, and let me show you the server details and all, right? So give me a sec. Let me share that screen. Okay. Hopefully you are able to see the screen now. In the last episode, last Sunday, we have seen what are the out of box kind of a configurations, what are the things in the console, and like what is this called, like workspace, right? This is workspace and this is some other pane, right? This is ribbon, etc., etc., right? And we have gone through all the workspace nodes, right? uh, in the console in Sunday's episode. Today, we talked about boundaries and boundary groups. We talked about the concept of boundaries and boundary groups. We talked about the concept of act, active directory discovery and the concept of discovery and all. Right? If you are not clear about that, probably you can watch the previous videos and we will get more details about the concept. Right? How to configure those active directory discoveries, we will see that today or tomorrow probably, right? Not tomorrow, today probably. Okay, so let's get into this, right? So first I'm going to administration and I'm going to install some components first, right? Before doing anything, we need a management point. We need management point and a distribution point. So let's build a management point and distribution point. While we build the primary server, we didn't add the roles like distribution point and management point in the wizard, in the installation wizard. We didn't check that option, right? So that is why we need to kind of manually build the management point and distribution point. So first of all, I'm going to build a management point now. Okay, so to build a management point, you need to have a infra admin access on the console, right? On the server SCCM application basically, or configuration manager. And once you have that access, then probably you can go to s- sites or servers and site systems, right? There are two options, right? If you want to build a remote management point, then the option is create a site system server. Okay, so if you want to build a remote management point, this is the option to do that, right? Then you need to select a browse and select a new remote server, right? And then you need to build the management point in the same way. This is the only difference, right? We need to build the site system server first, right? So in case of remote management point, but in our case we are building a management point in within this primary site server itself, right? So we already talked about site systems, difference between site systems and site system, site servers and site system servers, right? So primary servers are site servers, right? And remote MP management point, distribution point, SUP, those are site system servers, right? So those are just components. We are not going to install all the SCCM application in those remote servers if we are talking about site system servers, right? Okay, so in this case we are going to add a site system role into the primary server itself, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, right? And it will open up the similar kind of a wizard. And as you can see, the primary site server name is already selected, right? So as I mentioned, if it's a remote distribution point or remote management point, then you need to select this one, right? Create site system server. Okay, now we are not going to do that. That is why we are installing the distribution point and management point on the primary server itself, right? So I'm not going to change anything over here, right? In this scenario, in this particular scenario, but you can use, if you don't have a kind of trust between both the primary server and the remote MP and management point server. For example, if your remote management point or remote distribution point in a different forest, right? And you don't have trust between this particular forest, for example, HTMD.com and XYZ.com. XYZ.com is a domain where your distribution point is located, or you are planning to put a distribution point on a different domain. In that case, you can use this kind of an option, okay, to provide account, right? Probably if you don't have a forest trust, probably two-way trust, probably the Kerberos is not going to work. Okay, so that is why we want to be able to use system account to install the management point and distribution point role. That is why we need to use this one in that particular kind of a scenario. Okay, so in this case, we are installing this on a primary server itself, the same server itself. So I'm using the system account, right? So site system installation account, that is the name of the account. Okay, so I'm not going to change anything over here. It's all same default one, right? And you can see proxy, that I don't mind. Now we don't have any proxy. If you have proxy solutions, then you need to probably mention the proxy server name. For example, if you are planning to create SUP, or if you are planning to create some uh, s- site site connection point or service connection point, etc., right? There's nothing called site connection point. Okay, so okay, click next. And here we have available roles, right? So the only available roles are these at the moment, because some other roles are already available in this primary server, so you won't be able to install it twice. Okay, so once you install a management point on this server, you won't be able to install a management point again, right? So that's a logic, right? Okay, so I'm going to select management point over here, right? I'm not going to install DP now. I will install management point, and we will go through the entire management point installation process. Okay, and let me open up the server manager, right? And let me open up the IAS if it is there. Oh, sorry. Before the installation of management point, right? So IAS. Okay, so as you can see, there's a default site, and there is nothing inside this default site at the moment. So this is the configuration of IAS now. Okay, so what management point installation is going to do is basically it is going to install all the all lot of components into IAS, right? So IAS is the thing which connects clients to management point, right? So that is the component which connects clients to the management point, right? So the client's first hope is always management point. Client will get the policies from management point, right? Client will send the hardware inventory and software inventory and all those details to management point. Then from management point component, primary server will get it, right? And it will get into database. That is the flow, right? So management point is very critical. If you don't have management point, you are not managing any clients at all, right? Your SCCM is sitting just like that, right? So click on next, and here you have an option to select HTTP or HTTPS, right? In most of the scenarios, it's HTTP, right? In some of the scenarios like CMG or some other scenarios, we need to select HTTPS, right? But in this scenario, we are going to go ahead with the HTTP scenario and click next. HTTPS sometimes requires some PKI certificate or self-signing certificate from SCCM or configuration manager, that is now called as EHTTP also, right? Okay, so use the site database. This is critical point, right? So when client, if you are using a remote management point, this is pretty critical component, right? In this scenario, it's not. But if you are installing a remote management point, then you need to have a management point needs to communicate with the database and check whether the client is having some policies or not from the database, right? So that is why we need a communication. Management point needs a communication directly with the database. Okay, so that is why this step is there. Okay, click next and click finish. Okay, but I think now we have started the installation of management point. Now let's look into the log files now, right? So where we can find the log file details, right? What is going on in the management point, right? So let me go to the F drive where we have installed the SCCM, right? Configuration manager is there. And if I go to logs, you would be able to see log files over there, MP. If I sort with this one, and if I go to, there are two things right over here. MP setup is the first log which we need to kind of look into to check what is happening, right? So it says installing, right? It says installing. Okay, so installing means you would be able to get more details on this particular log, that is MPMSI.log. Okay, so MPMSI.log, I'm opening MPMSI.log and see what is going to happen, right? So something happened, disable rollback, installation, management point, manufacturer, installation error, installation success, error status 0. Okay, so give me a sec. Installation operation completed successfully, right? It says installation operation completed successfully, so that is positive, right? And you can see all those things, right? If you want to analyze what are the log files, right? What are the things MP installation MSI did, then you can check this log from the starting and you can understand each components, right? It will check the IAS, it will check the authentication, it will check all the database connect, not the database connectivity probably. Okay, so all these things will be checked in this process, and it will be documented or it will be logged in this particular log, that is MPMSI.log, right? So in our case, it is kind of already there. We have already done the setup. So as I mentioned, it is querying the virtual directory, IAS virtual directory, right? And it is searching a virtual directory called CCM system, something like that, right? So all those details, right? If you want to understand exactly what is going to happen and why, where it is connecting and what it is doing, then this is the log. And it is very important to look at this log if you have a MP installation failure, right? So don't get panic with this red mark over here in the log, right? Because this is coming because there is a word error in this particular log over here. That is why it is it is coming in red. Otherwise the installation went okay, right? As you can see over here. And sometimes if you have a problem with the installation, you can search with this one, right? There's a cheat code over here, return value 3, and you can search with this. If you have a failure, MP in or MP installation failure, then you would be able to see this particular entry. And above, I forgot, above or below this entry, right? 2 or 3 steps above this entry or below this entry, you will find the exact reason for the failure, right? probably most of the failures I have seen are because of the prerequisites. Okay, so like for example, if you have not installed the IAS and you have not selected the default configuration to install the IAS, then probably that will fail. MP installation will fail. Now let's go back to MP setup.log and check what is coming over there. So it says, okay, it asked us to go back and look MSI log to check the installation details, right? And it is installing the MP through this particular command. Over here, you would be able to see the actual command also, right? What is it doing? How is it doing, right? Exactly. Okay. And you can see like it is checking the prerequisites like SQL native client is installed or not, etc., etc. And at the end, there is a return code 0 and installation was successful, right? And now the installation got successful. We can close that log and let's just jump back to the IAS console. I don't know whether this is called IAS console or not, and just give a refresh, right? Now we don't see any MP related or SCCM related applications or virtual directory over here, right? Let's refresh and see what is coming up, right? So I did a refresh and let's open up site, right? Ah, here we go, right? Lot of lot of default, like lot of virtual directories and components are created inside default website, right? And you can see like BGB is fast channel, notification channel, etc., right? And CCM client, CCM incoming, right? And all these things are very useful in the troubleshooting, right? And when you have a problem with MP communication, you need to look into the IAS logs as well, right? So IAS logs will give you the exact error and exact IP of the client from where it is contacting, right? So IAS is always a first troubleshooting step. As I mentioned, IAS is reaching SCCM component. Sorry, client is reaching SCCM components through IAS and into management point, right? So IAS is very critical component in the troubleshooting. I have seen lot of comments or threads, questions in how to manage devices forum and all. Like my MP is like my client is not getting the policies. My MP is not working and those kind of stuff, right? So in that scenario, right, first thing is you need to check the log files at the client side and then check the IAS logs and check the MP logs, right? There is one more log file which is pretty useful. We have seen two log files now, right? That is MP setup and MPMSI. These are the two log files which we have already seen. The other log file, which is very important in terms of operations, right? If your client is not receiving the policies, right, as expected, then you need to look into mpcontrol.log. This is a log file for the day-to-day operations, right? Installation is a kind of a one time kind of an activity, right? Once after that, this is the log MP control, and MP control will give you the exact health of the MP, right? For example, if the value is 200, if it says status code is 200, I think it is fine. MP is okay from a IAS perspective and the components are okay, right? I have seen many issues like where it gives 400 error or 500 error, where we have issues when we have issues with IAS, or somebody played around with IAS, or some security team or some security policy blocked something in this IAS, then we normally get the 400 or 500 errors, or there could be some other issues also related to SCCM. In that case also we'll get some error. If you see 200 in this MP control.log, then normally the MP is fine, right? Your MP is fine. You don't have to worry about MP. You can go to the next kind of troubleshooting. Okay, so that is MP. Now let's go back and see what is there in the blog post which I have written, right? So there is a blog post. In that blog post, I have explained the entire process, right? Entire process, how to install the MP and what are the prerequisites and what are the log files which we need to look into, right? Which I already explained over here today, right? So prerequisite, you can see all these things should be there, and then only the MP installation will get successful, or it will get succeeded, right? Okay, so all these components were kind of already installed, that is why MP got installed successfully, right? And adding the site server account, this is a remote scenario, right? As I mentioned, if you are installing MP on a remote server, then you need to make sure that um, your primary server account is part of local administrators of a remote management point server. Okay, so these are the things of available here, right? So you can look back into that if you have any doubt, and probably I will share the recording of this video, and you can look into the video also to understand it better, right? Now let's go back and check how to install the distribution point, right? I have a blog post about that also, how to install the distribution point and what are the prerequisites. As you can see, distribution point is also using IAS extensively, right? So without IAS, probably the distribution point installation might not happen, right? And nowadays, in distribution point comes with Pixie also, right? Earlier there was a separate site system role for Pixie. Now it is part of distribution point, right? So now, first of all, let's look into the prerequisites, right? Whether let's understand whether we have already installed all the prerequisite for the distribution point, right? So let's go back to our server manager, right? If that is available. Server manager, launch server manager, add roles. Okay, let it come back. Add role and click next. We have seen this before, right? So this is not new to you. Okay, so as you can see, server roles, I don't think any server role needs to be added for this one, because IAS, you can see IAS is already kind of added, because when we installed WSUS, it was already kind of installed, right? And MP also is using IAS, right? So IAS component server role is already there. So I don't think we need to do anything over there, apart from just confirming what are the things available for the future documentation purpose, right? So all these things are already kind of available over here, right? So probably one thing is missing is one IAS 6 WMA compatibility, right? I think that is also required as per the documentation, right? So it says, yeah, IAS 6 WMA compatibility that is required, right? And now remote differential, you have seen that is already there. We have installed that as part of the primary server installation, right? So we don't need to worry about that. Then IAS application development, IAS configuration application development, I think we have already seen this, right? Security we have not seen, we will look into it. Now we are looking into this one, right? And we need to enable that. Okay, so let's go back, and it's WMI compatibility, right? So let's enable that. Okay, and let's see whether we are missing anything over there or not, right? So Windows authentication, basic authentication, everything is okay, I feel. Let me go back and check. Windows authentication is fine. Visual C++ distribution, distributation, distributable, if you can say, if I can say that correctly. Okay. um, so overall I feel this is fine. Now we are okay to proceed, if I'm not wrong. Okay, anyways, let's proceed and see whether we are getting any failures, right? Features. In the features, let's go through once again what is there in the bits, right? Bits is kind of installed as part of the previous configuration, as I mentioned before, right? And remote differential compression already installed, right? So if you want to see this in detail, you can see this over by maximizing this window, right? So rest of the things are okay, I feel, right? Let's try to install it, and let's see what is going to happen when we try to install the distribution point, right? So probably it might fail, or probably if we have done everything correctly, probably it will get succeeded, as you saw the MP installation, right? Okay, so let's get this installed. Okay, and we will, after installation of this component, we will start the installation of the distribution point from the same place, right? So now you can see all these things. Probably after installing the distribution point, some more components or some more websites will come up over here, right? So that client can contact a distribution point website and download the content through a secure channel, right? So that is why IAS has been used, right, to to reach SCCM server from the client side securely, right? Okay, so let's say installation succeeded on this particular server, and I don't think there is any restart required, right? So let's go back. Let's minimize this one, and let's minimize this also. Let's go back and let's check what is going to happen now. Before that, right? So let's go through the same process. The process is same. We didn't check the Visual Studio. We can check that quickly from here, right? appswiz.cpl, right? So that will launch the installed components, right? And we can check vc something plus plus. Okay, so those are already available. A lot of components are available, right? So let's check what is the thing it is looking for. VC plus plus. Okay, I think it's already there, right? So we don't need to worry about that. Okay, so that is one of the way to check whether the features are installed or not, or you can check that from the control panel appwiz.cpl, right? I don't know how many of you use this method to launch the add remove programs, right? So this is the easiest way, right? appwiz.cpl. Okay, that's another kind of a tip, if you would like to know. Okay, so the creation of distribution point is kind of same, right? So we have to go through the same steps which we have seen for the management point, right? So the log files would be different, right? HMAN.log will have some details, right? Then it will start deploying the packages, default packages, etc., right? So we will see that. If you are not speaking, can you please go on mute? Thank you. Okay, so let's try to install distribution point now. Okay, I think nobody's speaking now. Thank you. Okay, so let's go back to sites and install distribution point. So for example, if you want to install a remote distribution point, click on this one, right? If you already have that site system created, then you don't need to click on this, right? So probably you can click on that particular site system and install the distribution point. If you are introducing a new server, right, new site system server to SCCM hierarchy, then you need to go through this wizard, right? You need to add this particular server, remote server, right? And you need to connect that. Then you need to go through the process which I explained, or I'm going to explain now, right? So over here in this scenario, I'm going to install the distribution point on my primary server itself, right? The configuration is same. There is no change at all, right? In this page, a particular for this particular page, right? Select the server to use as a site system. So that is already selected. That is our primary server. If you want specify the FQDN details are there. If you want to use a special site system installation account, you can use that. I have explained the scenarios for using that. If you don't have a trust between two server domains, probably this is the best way to do that, right? So these are the things which can help you in very complex scenarios, right? So click next, and I'm not going to use proxy for this because there is a direct internet available on this server, and that there is no proxy requirement for distribution point, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so next, click next and select the role. Now the MP role is not there, right? Because we already installed MP on this, that is why the MP role is not there, right? So select the distribution point now, right? And you can see over here, what is distribution point? So if you don't know what is, okay, I forgot to explain that. If you don't know what is management point is the policy provider or a bridge between, as I explained previously, between SCCM client and SCCM server, right? Through management point, it is reaching the SCCM client is reaching the SCCM server and getting all the policies and getting all the sending all the client is sending all the hardware inventory, etc., to the SCCM server. So management point is kind of a bridge. So this is not an official um, official kind of a description of management point, right? So that would be a kind of a different description officially. If you ask, you need to go to Microsoft documentation and check what is the exact definition of management point, right? But the management point does that kind of a work, as I explained, and um, that is why we are installing management point. Okay, and distribution point is a content source basically, so it will store all the content of your packages. Distribution point is nothing but a file server which has some content logic in it, right? So content library, you know about the content library and all, right? Where the content package content is stored, right? So this is the distribution point. So that is the role of the distribution point. So client will communicate directly with the distribution point and download the required content from the distribution point if that is configured like that. And then once it's downloaded to the client cache, it will start the installation upon the policy arrival and on the schedule. Okay, so that is the role of distribution point. It's just a content source location. Okay, so how the clients will reach that content source location? Through IAS. Okay, so that is why IAS is also important for the troubleshooting when we do distribution point kind of troubleshooting. Okay, so click on next, and you can provide the details if you want, right? What are the what do you call them? Um, Description of the distribution point if you want, right? So probably I will say HTMD distribution point, right? HTMD distribution point. Okay, so you can say, oh, install all the components. You don't need to look into the components manually, right? Into server manager, IAS and all, which are the components already there and which are not there. There is an interesting, very useful option over here: install and configure IAS if required by configuration manager. So I will always recommend to enable this, right? And if you forget to install something or IAS components on the remote server, it will automatically configure that for you, right? So you don't need to go through all the documentation sometimes. But I have seen bits and all, right? Those components are not won't be configured as part of this, so that the remote differential compression, what is that, so that those components won't be enabled through this. So you need to manually do those kind of components enablement, right, if I can say it like that. Okay, so that is one part of it. So I always use this, that this will help you to help to configure the IAS, right, as per the distribution point requirement. Now, these are very important and interesting points in your production environment with the current situation, right? So if you want to enable branch cache, you need to click on this. You need to configure that, right? So again, it will ask for the configuration, etc., etc. And then you want to use leadbat. If you want to use leadbat, then you need to use this one, this option, right? It is pre-staging. I don't know how many of you know. Sorry, leadbat. I don't know how many of you know. This is the advanced or latest version of the network or I don't know, network segregation. I don't know exact description or exact definition of leadbat, but this is basically for intelligent bandwidth control, right? It can look into network congestions, and it can adjust the data transfer depending on the network congestion and all, right? So this is pretty useful in production scenarios. So I would recommend to use this if you are installing a distribution point and your server is supporting leadbat, right? Okay, so enable distribution point pre-staged content, right? This is another topic, another option. If you want to use that, like you can use it. This is for pre-staging the content, right? If you have a in a scenario, if you have a remote office and you don't have a bandwidth to deploy all the packages, probably you want to carry it in a USB or something, and then distribute it, like unpack it from that USB to the content library in that remote distribution point. This is the option to do that, right? Pre-staging content, right? This was pretty common when I started working with SCCM back in 2005 and all, right? In it was SMS at that time, SMS 2003, right? So now I don't know how many of you use this, but this is I've been no, I'm not using this like since last 4 or 5 years or more than that. Okay, so yeah, that is pretty interesting option if you have some bandwidth constraints or remote offices might so then this would be helpful scenario, right? So this is another cloud connected scenario, Microsoft connected cache server. So this is useful in case of co-management, and if Intune want to use DO, I forgot the full abbreviation of DO, right? So basically that is also a good strategy for caching, between peer-to-peer caching, delivery optimization, right? Delivery optimization, caching. This is the configuration for that. So we have a blog post available, which has a video also from Microsoft Ignite, right? Last year, 2019. So there's an entire explanation of what is Microsoft Connected Cache and how it can be used with the DP, which can help in tune clients also. Okay, so I'm not going to use all those things because this is pretty much standard lab and this is primary server. right? And this is Azure, so it doesn't make much sense, right? Okay, so let's, if you enable this, right, then you will get all these options to configure, right? So you can configure if you enable the Microsoft connected cache server. So we don't need that now. Okay, so I'm going to say next, and over here you can see HTTP again, right? HTTP I'm going to select, and sometimes I have seen people use allow clients to connect anonymously, right? This is sometimes required if you see some issues or troubleshoot. Sometimes we enable this for the troubleshooting purpose and all, right? Okay, and let's say next, and we'll keep all thing default over here. And if you have a PKI setup, and if you want to use HTTP communication for your SCCM on-prem, then you need to select HTTPS over here. PK, sorry, I said HTTP, right? HTTPS, HTTP, if I can say that correctly, HTTPS communication. Then you need to enable this. Then you need to provide the PKI certificate, etc., etc. Right? You should have a client certificate, server certificate, etc., etc. Right? Okay, so let's click next. Communication, we have selected HTTP, and this is important, right? So drive space reserve, how much drive space you need. I will keep that as default, but you can feel free to change as per your requirement. Probably for the production, I will keep much higher numbers over here, right? Okay, and this is also very important, right? So content library location, where you want to keep the content library, and which drive you want to keep the content library. So I'm going to select F drive, because that is my drive, right? So the data drive for me, I don't want to get the content into the C drive, right? So if you don't want to get content into C drive or some other drive, you can use a text. You can create a text file, like no SMS. I forgot the exact details of that text file, right? You just need to create that text file. I will provide you in the description of the video, right? And you can place that text file in the root folders of root drives, right? If you want, if you don't want SCCM content into C drive, then you can place that folder, sorry, not folder, the file, text file, in that specific name. No SMS, something like that, right? I forgot the name, I'm really sorry about that. Okay, so if somebody remember it, can you please paste it in the chat window? That would be helpful for others. Okay, so okay, so let's select the F drive and go ahead, and you can select other drives also, right? What is your secondary preferred drive once F drive is full, or about it if it is reaching 50 uh, reserve space. Oh, I don't know. Someone is sharing. Oh, great, thank you. Someone is trying to share. Okay, that was great. Anyways, I can give you an option to share and present if you are interested, right? Let me know. Don't give you surprise now, right? Okay, thank you. So let's see our recording is going on or not. Okay, recording is fine, I feel. Okay. Okay, so let's click next, and let's go into the Pixie configuration, right? So this is interesting. Most of you are using Pixie, and you are configuring Pixie in using Pixie in your environment, right? So if you are using that, then you need to enable this Pixie point, and you need to follow the entire Pixie enablement steps, all right, of documentation, and you need to go through all those IP helper, DHCP configurations if you are using DHCP, etc. Give me a sec. Let me drink some water. Okay, so this is the Pixie configuration, right? So let's go into that and let's have a quick overview of this, right? So allow distribution point to to res- to respond to incoming Pixie requests, right? So this is there. If you want to enable this feature, unknown computer support, I have seen many organizations don't use it. Like some of the organization would like to use this, and this is pretty useful sometimes, right? But make sure you have a password, right? Otherwise, you don't want to deploy um, advertisement to all the devices or all the servers, and that will pixie boot and kind of for start formatting your drives. So always use password, always use this, right? This is the best recommendation I can give. If you are enabling unknown computer and all the other things, right, always use password protection as a um, second level of for protection. So the task sequence won't format your servers and desktops, entire desktop fleet or server fleet, right? So that is pretty important, right? Okay, so I don't want to change that. So if you want to specify these network interface details, you can specify over here, right? And you can add those details over here, MAC ID, etc., over here, right? So if you want those kind of a configuration, I normally do the default kind of a configuration. So I don't perform any specific network interface, select network interface, etc., right? So it depends on your configuration or your infrastructure also, right? Some of the security folks are not very happy with Pixie, so they don't allow Pixie boot in their environment. I have seen many cases like that in large organizations. So they don't enable Pixie at all. They use USB or some other method to build the operating system, right? Bare metal kind of a scenario. Okay, so in this case, it's Azure, and I don't think we can anyways test the Pixie in Azure. So I'm not going to enable that, right? Okay, and there are prerequisites like WDS, and you can use without WDS also, etc., right? So this is pretty much interesting topic, Pixie, and I think we have a lot of blog posts available from Jitesh as well as from many others, right, in our blog. To You can go through those to get more details, right? Okay. Multicast, I have never seen a customer using this. Probably there will be a lot of other customers using, but I have never seen multicast enabled in a production scenario. Okay, so I'm not going to use this option, right? And the next option is specific to the DP and the content validation, right? So this is pretty much very useful in some scenarios like hash mismatch error. I don't know how many of you have seen hash mismatch errors when client tries to download content from DP, right? So if you have enabled this validation, probably that might help you to kind of eliminate those kind of issues, right? So it's kind of a self healing and self check over here happening here. By default it is disabled, but if you want to enable it, you can enable it. And you can say like what is the priority you want to have, and what is the schedule you want to have. This is the normal scheduling mechanism which is available across SCCM platforms, right? Okay, so for example, you want to do a weekly Saturday thing, then you can say like, oh, 12 a.m. Saturday, I'm going to validate entire content and confirm whether there is nothing changed or there is no spamware or something, right? uh, in that content, right? So the validation will do that. This process will do that, right? So this is pretty much interesting. I have seen many requests about this, questions about this in how to manage devices forum also. Okay. Okay, so let's click next. We are not enabling the content validation because this is not production. I would recommend in production probably you can try to enable it and check what is happening. If it is taking lot of load and lot of performance issues, then probably you can schedule it accordingly, right? Okay, so next is boundary groups. So we don't have a boundary group now, but once we have a boundary group, I would like to add that particular boundary group into this, right? So as you can see, during content deployment, the clients in a boundary group that is associated with the site system will use as a source location for the content. So this is pretty much useful in scenarios, right? But I'm not going to use that. We will see what is boundary groups and boundaries later, right? And we will cover this then. Okay. So now let's click next and start the installation and review it before click on next. Before clicking on next, always review the summary and see everything is okay or not, in at least in a production scenario, right? If it's a if it's a lab environment, you don't need to worry much, but in a production environment, those drive letters let bad and those configurations are pretty much useful, right? Very much critical, right? You don't want to create content source folder or SCCM source folder in C drive of a server, right? Okay, so let's click next and let's close this and let's go back to our best friend, that is log file, right? HMAN as the log file. There are two HMAN logs. This is the latest one, dot a log file, right? This is the previous one. Okay, so let's open this up and see what is happening over here, right? So a lot of things are happening. So it is trying to install the distribution point probably and see. We'll see what happened here somewhere above. Okay, a lot of things are happening. Give me a sec. Let's check with distribute. HT1 have not changed distribution point table in the database. Okay, that was around 128. That is fine. So 128, we didn't start at that. We started now. Let's see what is happening over here. A lot of things are going on here, right? So this is 128 again, right? So we are still kind of waiting for the distribution point configuration. Okay, so HMAN is pretty busy now. Okay, so let's go back to our post over here, right? And see what is happening over here. HMAN, you can see a distribution point of site this has have changed. So this is the log or entry which you need to look into, right? So that is why I started searching with distribution point in HMAN log. Okay, so distribution point is still not there, so that is why it is doing a lot of stuff, and that thing it's very busy now, right? So again it says 29, right? Now, okay, so this is the latest one. Okay, so let's check. Okay, oh the time is different over here in the server. That is why I thought like current time is 1:30. Okay, so that is the latest one. Okay, my mistake. So we missed something. Let me go up and see. and let's come down like this. Distribution have not changed. This was 12, right? And let's come down again. Okay, new site system HT distribution point. Okay, so there are some clues over here, right? And as you can see, okay, so it says distribution point of site HT1 have changed. Okay, cool. So it is inserting the distribution point values, right? Inserted distribution point values, and it started working on it, publishing client package to the distribution point, right? So it started distributing the default packages which are already kind of available, right, out of box. So I have shown you yesterday, like in the last meeting, that was on last Sunday, that there are 3 packages or 4 packages, default packages available, right, out of box available. So this is one of them, HTI 004, right? So it is trying to distribute that package to this particular loaded the client, sorry, loaded client upgrade setting from DP successfully, right? Full client package HT1003, right? And yeah, this is pretty much very useful information, right? HMAN has, and it is checking it is running some SP, stored procedures in SQL, uh, right? And it is providing all those details, and it is creating those entries in the SQL, right? So signature, it is checking, all those things are happening now. Configuration, WCM configuration. So this is pretty much very useful log file to confirm whether your DP configuration is successful or not, right? So it happened around 128, that is 4 minutes 5 minutes before, right? So let's go back and check what is happening over here, right? Configuration update pack, configuration manager update package, the other package, it is trying to do something with that package, right? And it is kind of very useful, right? As I mentioned, now we have seen the DP, we didn't get any error related to the DP over here, right? So you don't worry about this one, right? Failover, this is there is a letter called or word called fail in that, right? That is why it is coming as red. So I feel this is hopefully DP initial installation is okay, it went well. Okay, so let's go down and just confirm the same thing, and let's search for this particular entry. Yeah, we have already seen that, so we don't need to look into that again. Now the next log file is Distrmgr.log, right? That is the operation kind of a log file. So HMAN is basically probably kind of a MP setup kind of a log, right? Once you configure the DP for the first time, probably you might need to look into it. And if you have DP installation errors, that is the best log file which you need to look into. And apart from that, if you have a distribution issue, and then you need to look into this particular log file, distmgr. All these log files are available here, right? F drive is our installation folder drive, and programs and configuration manager logs, right? Distribution distmgr. So you will find some errors over here if we have, right? So there are some errors related to uh, 005 is access denied, right? Pixie Pixie is not happening, Pixie is not there, etc., etc., right? So you can see some errors over there. Let's see anything is happening successfully distributed or not, right? It's all Pixie related errors. So you can look into let's search with some package ID, right? So probably you will come to know. Okay, so this is a place probably we can go into and check DP upgrade process thread upgrading DP with ID 1, right? And you could say, okay, INS package is created in the inbox, and then it is creating an al path, right? So these are all like very interesting configurations which we are going to look into, right? And it is creating a content library location, etc., etc., in the registry, right? So so if you go back over here in the F drive, right, you would be able to see content library, and you would be able to see if this is successful, you would be able to see some content over here, right? So you can see this content, etc. Now over here, file library, and inside this you would be able to see the XML files, right, the configuration files and signature files over here, right? And other folder is package labels, the actual configuration setting file, right? Okay, so all these files are available, and this is the folder where you can see the uh, actual source files, right? So this is pretty much, I think, happening now, and it has all the details like boot image, etc., etc., over here, right? Okay, so let's go back and search with one particular package, right? Let's check one particular package from here, right? So let's take 04, right? And check what is this package. Okay, it's CCM setup. So let's take this particular package as an example for our scenario, and let's copy and let's start searching with that to find out what happened, right? So it says it's somewhere here, right? It says, okay, so adding package HT1004 to package processing queue. Okay, that's fine. So it started the distribution, right, and started package processing thread for 00. We are searching 003 or 4, right? Okay, 4. Okay, 4. And you can see all those details over here, right? And 3 is working now. The package 3 is kind of checking. It's start adding package to the server, right? It says, and create a DP process thread to adding that particular package, right? And waiting for all the DP threads to complete the package. All these details are very helpful, right? And it says distribution point is on the site server, and the package content type is package. There is nothing to be copied, so there's no replication required, right? And you can see that the package processing thread for 004 is started. Okay, that is the different package. So over here somewhere you would be able to find the same steps, right, attempting to update the package. Okay, all these things are available here, and you can ignore those failed to process DP action and all. It will retry, okay, and not change, right? So everything kind of looks okay. So it says failed to process package. Okay. And let's see what is happening over there. Why it is kind of failing. Okay. So it says failed to process package, retries 100 times. Okay, that's fine. Uh, Let's go down and check some more things. Okay, and it says okay, it's again failed. Fine. Okay, something changed over here. NT system uploaded distribution point. Okay. I think registry. Okay, this is fine, I think. So we don't see any specific errors that has required our attention. Now let's go back and confirm this, right? What has happened in the console, right? So we have installed the the distribution point. Now what we can do is we can go into the monitoring, right? And monitoring you can see something like distribution status, right? Distribution status you can see, right? Even though we don't have any packages apart from the default packages, right? So you can see in the distribution status, you can see like there are lot of nodes available, 4 nodes to be precise, right? Client data source and content status, distribution point, group status. We have not created that yet, right? And distribution point configuration status. So after installation of distribution point, this is the first thing you need to kind of look into, right? If everything is from a configuration perspective, everything is fine or not. Okay, so let's check that and see what is happening over there, right? So it says, okay, so package distribution is kind of failed, right? So it says completion status failed, package distribution failed, and let's see the details, right? And it says details will be available after the server finishes the processing messages, right? Pixie, it says okay, it's fine, available, but it's failed for something else, right? So it says 03 and 04 failed. Now let's go back and check this in more details, right? And you can see this is one particular. Okay, give me a sec. This is over here and this is over here, and it says okay, it's my client package upgrade failed. Okay, why it failed, right? So let's understand why this got failed, right? So it says detail will be available once the, this is which package, you need to check the package now. The package ID is 004 and even 003 is failed, right? 004 is failed, 003 is failed. Now it's time to go back and check why it got failed, right? So in the distribution, let's check what has happened, what is failing. Exiting the processing thread. Okay, so this is going to be a bit tricky now. Okay, so returning client period. I can't see any specific errors, right? Exiting the package process. It says client upgrade package. Okay, status fine. Now let's do one thing, right? Let's try to reinitiate the deployment and music. That is the that is the one thing which I can see now. Okay, give me a sec. Now let's identify what has failed, right? With the failed one, right? Pixie failed. Okay, that's fine. Pixie failed is fine. Uh, Failed to open that registry. That is also, that should be fine. I don't worry about that error message. Then again, a registry read is failed. That is also fine, I feel. And again, if I go up, I think it would be quite failed to process package 22205. So you would be able to see the details over here. Package does not have a preferred sender. Package configuration change. No, that's fine. Stored package. I currently HPDP error. Package processing. There's nothing here. Right. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's open up the log files again. F drive, program files, configuration manager, log files, and let's check what is the latest updated log file. Okay, HMAN. Let's check the HMAN again. Okay, let's check distribution. Anything over here? Distribution not changed. That's fine. Okay, currently using the distribution. I feel it's fine. Um, let's go back to the console. Okay, before going back to the console, right, let's check the changes in the IAS, right? So anyways, we have configured the DP. Now the IAS, for IAS changes should happen right now. Let's right click and refresh, right? So refresh. After refresh, if I go back over here, you would be able to see something over here, right? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so probably that is interesting aspect of it. Okay, so HMAN install. Let me see the install distribution point. Let me filter this, right? Filter this which contains distribution point, right? So I will see only the distribution point related should automatically distribution point. Why it's coming like this in the log file? Okay, let's remove the okay, I didn't enable the filter on. It's interesting. Distribution point. Okay, so distribution point currently in use, currently in use. Okay. Nothing much useful over there. What I'm going to do now is basically I'm going to go back to the application packages, right? Where is it? Software library and packages. Right, update the distribution point. Let's see that 03. I did that for 03. And now let me check what is happening over there. So this is 130. Okay, nothing happened.
More thing like for the distribution point, we did not define the boundary group. So maybe that can be the region that package not be
No,
distributing.
no, I don't think so because there's no relation between boundary group and that. Anyways, thank you for that suggestion. If I understand correctly, there's no relationship between distribution point and boundary group. Finished. Okay. Package processing thread. That's fine. Come on. Don't sleep. Okay. So finished. Get usable drives. Okay. That's fine. Okay. 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 Give me a sec. Successfully created virtual. That's a bug or what? Now we're just creating that IAS and all, right? Let's refresh. That's interesting. Okay, see, DP, this came up. That's a bug then, probably. I don't know. Okay, now it's doing a lot of other stuff. Okay, interesting. Uh, all the entire process is happening now. Cool. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I heard about this issue before, but that was for the task sequence and all, right? So probably this is same thing. Let me let me go back. Oh, cool. So the content status now it's turned to green. Okay, cool. So let's check the other one, right? That is, which was that, the update. Again, this is failed. It should automatically take. Why? I don't think it will automatically do something unless and until we initiate it. That is really strange. It should automatically happen. I think this is some kind of a bug. Okay, anyways, I'm going to do the same thing for this particular package also, right? So let's, come on. There's no failure also in this. This is okay. We have not distributed or what? This is 001. Okay, so yeah, that particular package is not available in the console, right? As I mentioned yesterday, sorry, last week. So yeah, this should automatically happen. Redistribute. Let me try this. Redistribute, right, from here. Redistribute, distribution package 00, all the collection, distribution distmgr. Okay, that's fine. Let's do it. This is HMAN. I feel this HMAN is fine. Close it, and let's analyze the the distmgr. So it's still waiting, and I think it should happen now. Okay, it's happening. Booming cleanup. Okay, so it says no network connection required. Get content library location, finish content library, update. Okay, everything is okay. Successfully created, updated package on the server database, data source. Cool. So finished content library, successfully package signature done. Okay, I think everything is okay now. This is really strange, right? Let's okay. It's now green. Okay, so that is done. Now DP, you learned a lot now, right? Today, what is DP and how to troubleshoot, and what are the things which we can do with the DP distribution point, and what are the things which you need to look into in IAS for the DP, right? So this is the signature folder, share folder, right? So this is also a share folder. If I open this, and you can see a lot of options over here, right? I'm going to go and explore, right? So it will directly take you to the that particular share folder, and this is the share folder the client will access through IAS, right? So this is one share folder, that is signature file, right? So over here you would be able to see the signature files, right? Created the signature file, etc., etc., right? So you can see this is a folder, right? So this is the verification kind of stuff. And if I close this, right, if I close this, and if I open the other actual package folder, right, that is click, right click and explore, you would be able to see this one right now. This was already there because that was primary server, right? That was already by, because of that, that was already there. Okay, and this is the CCM, and all these folders are available now. Okay, so that's cool. And we have seen MP management point and distribution point configuration today. And I think I can open up for the questions if you have any before proceeding further, or I don't know whether I want to cover something else today. Anything you want to discuss, or any questions? No SMS on drive EM. Yeah, that's the one. Thank you for that.
Amit,
Vaishnav. Yeah. Yeah, tell me. Who was that? Sorry.
Wasim here.
Yeah.
Regarding you just access one folder over there, right? From Explorer, DP folder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that same folder can we access from the client side?
Yeah,
Maybe.
it should be available through IAS, not through that UNC path.
No, I'm talking about that path like HTTP, that
No,
DP
yeah,
name.
HTTP. It should be accessible. That is the fold. That is the path from where the client will download the content, right? So it
Okay.
should be accessible from the client.
Okay, it means if we are not able to access that path, then there must be some issue with like port opening or something like
So
that, right?
that's depends, right? So if you are launching that particular URL from a user
Browser.
context, right? User
Hmm.
context, it might not work, right?
Okay.
So there should be a process which probably you need to use PSXX or something to to launch that from a system context, right? And it will analyze your certificates and all, right? So yeah, so you ideally, yeah, that is the path from where the client will download the content. But if you are trying to access it from a user context, probably it might not allow you.
Okay. Okay.
But you
Thanks.
will get all these details in the log files at the client end. Something like location. I forgot the log file name again at the client end. Yeah, there are lot of content related log files available, right, in the client end. So you will get all the details over there.
Right. 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 Okay. Thanks.
No worries, man. Any other questions?
Hi, Anup. Yeah, and question regarding the DP Pixie setting. I
Mm-hmm.
noticed when you were going through the setting, specifically require a password component. Underneath that, there was an option I noticed, user device affinity.
Uh-huh.
What exactly is that? I mean, when do you use that? There's an option like you can set it, do not use user device affinity, or allow user device affinity with manual approval, and allow user device affinity with automatic approval.
To be honest, I don't have much clue about that option because I never tried that. Let me check which
Yeah,
one.
if you go under Pixie, there, use user device affinity. Can you see under the password?
Yeah, you don't.
If you enable Pixie, and if you go
Yeah,
back there, you see the options, three options there.
do not to use the user affinity. No, I never used this option. I don't know what is this exactly. Probably I need to go back to the documentation and check Microsoft documentation and check. I don't know anybody else in the call is aware of this option. Probably they can come off mute and share their experience. Okay, so
Thank you.
that's
Might be, yeah. Yeah,
that's a good
so
question. Thank you for that, and I will check this and let you know. Right, probably I will share the
might be.
information in the description of
Thanks
the
very much.
video. Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks.
Anup, Sujit here.
Yes,
Can we move this SMS location folder later after creating the DP?
yeah, there
I
are
want
some
to change.
tools available, so you need to use the tools to move those folders. Content transfer library tool or something like that. Tools are available, I think, within within the tools folder itself somewhere. Give me a sec. Let me try to show it to you. F. Come on. Where is my folder? Where are my folders? Okay. Okay. Configuration manager, tools. Can you see some tools folder here? Tools. Okay. Tools. What tools? Content library explorer, content library transfer tool. Yeah, there are tools available which you can use that, and you can transfer that. Yeah, this is the
Means
basic. Sorry, go ahead.
if I want to shift to presently now it in F drive. If I want to move to some other drive, it is possible, right?
Yeah,
Using
that's
that, yeah. Thank you.
no worries. Yeah.
Yeah, it's content library transfer tool only.
Okay, thank you for confirming that. Any other questions? Okay, Mayank raised hand, so I don't know whether he has some questions. Anyways, nice. And if we enable the option in Pixie, then we need to approve devices from SCCM and oh, okay. Sunil is mentioning something about the affinity. Is that about the affinity, Sunil? Okay, that's a cool one. Some IAS subfolder rule we missed, I guess. Okay, so we didn't miss anything, I think. So that was some bug in the process itself. Okay, Sanjay, you want to ask something, or it's by mistake?
Yes, Anup. Yes, Anup. Yeah. So I have a question related to the content library. So,
Okay.
for example, we do have some old packages. Like years ago, we created some packages, right? So we just want to clean up the content library so that it can release some space,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there is a tool called like content library, like cleanup tool, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when we are running that tool, like it's giving some development issue. So, but generally we given all permission kind of things, everything is there, but still we are getting unable to connect the development namespace. So, is there any idea like how we can fix this kind of issues? Any suggestions?
Probably we need to kind of do the troubleshooting and analyze the event logs and log files related to that, right? So, and then only we will come to know exactly what is the issue, right? At the moment, I don't think uh, any hints I can provide apart, like other than looking into the the event logs and kind of helping you to troubleshoot, right? So probably what you can do is, if you have any specific kind of questions, right, related to troubleshooting, probably if you can put that into how to manage devices forum, right? Forum dot how to manage devices. We can try to help you to resolve and try to troubleshoot, right?
Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you, Anand. Thank you. Yeah, I will do that.
Okay, so any other questions? Otherwise, probably I'm planning to um, end this today for with these two configurations, and probably next week you would be able to see the boundaries and boundary groups and discovery part. Tomorrow we have a Intune session. Tomorrow same time same place, Intune session, same meeting invite, and that is about the certificate deployment. So if you are not familiar with certificate deployment, skip profile and all, right, probably you would be able to understand the end to end the certificate deployment and certificate authentication, etc., etc. And I think that would be pretty useful for SCCM admins also, because because that is what like used in some of the not exactly the skep, but some of the PKI certificates and other things are used in SCCM also nowadays, right? So that would be pretty useful for you as a SCCM admin. So probably if you are interested, you can attend that session also tomorrow, right? So otherwise, we will resume this training on next weekend, that is on Saturday and probably on Sunday, right? And last, probably I can give last 5 minutes if you have any questions. Otherwise, we can end up this call for now.
Hey, Anup, this is Prashant.
Yeah. Shush.
Uh,
Sorry, I didn't hear your name.
yeah, this is Prashant.
Oh,
Uh,
Prashant. Hi.
yeah, hey, Anup. So, so have you guys worked on configuring the, configuration manager in AWS infrastructure? I mean, there's like out of topic we discussed, but since I'm building an infrastructure in AWS, so have you guys worked on configuring it?
Personally, I have not worked on any AWS
Okay.
kind of a scenario or environment, but I have gone through a lot of questions, or I heard about this scenario many times before, right? So people are like their cloud infrastructure is in AWS and they want to start using SCCM, install SCCM, and or configuration manager, right? So both are same.
Right.
So it depends on the scenario, right? So what is your scenario? What are you trying to
So
achieve, right?
so thing is, like, I mean, see, I'm creating a lab at home, right? So I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
for like, since I mean, I have a big infrastructure at office, and we do many things, right, at
Mm-hmm.
work, and we use Azure, right? But just for my learning purposes, like, I'm extending my learning skills with AWS now, and so. I mean, I was thinking like, how about like if we configure CMG in AWS? I mean, I was like thinking whether it is possible to configure CMG in AWS, right? Because
Oh,
CMG is
okay.
all about Azure based, Azure AD, and everything, right? But I was not
Yeah.
sure whether we can configure CMG, whether it's going to work or not.
So let's go into our architecture diagram over here, right? So let's explain in that way. That would be interesting. Okay. So this is the SCCM architecture. Okay. So
Right.
this is our primary server. This is somewhere in the data center. So I have mentioned something like this is on-prem data center, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this could be AWS data center, right? This is I mentioned this as a on-prem data center over here. This can be AWS data center, right? That should be fine. We don't care, right? Okay, AWS data center. Let's assume this is a AWS data center, and you have primary server, you have distribution point, you have management point, everything in the AWS data center somewhere in the cloud, right? Okay, so CMG is part of Azure. This is the CMG part. This the above cloud one, right? So
Right.
if you have open all these connections, right? If you have, these are firewall rules, right? All these lines, right? These are firewall rules. If you have open up all these connectivity from your SCCM infrastructure, which is in AWS, and from the internet, from the client, right? So these are the connectivity things like firewall ports which we need to open. So if you have all these firewall ports open and the communication is open, your service should work perfectly fine. But the only catch is, if you are in a production kind of a scenario, right? And if you want to pixie boot, right? If you want to pixie boot a client from your SCCM server, okay, and the client is in a remote site over here, office one, right? Then it could be a problem, right? So Pixie, those things might not work within that communication thing, right? So that could be a problem. Probably you can do something like you can create a remote distribution point somewhere in the remote office, right? Remote office, and you can do it like that way. If you open up the ports between uh, the primary server and the DP, if that is possible, then you might have an express route or something, right, between AWS and your office. Then that might be possible, but the Pixie server should be on-prem somewhere, right? So that is the scenario. But your question is specific whether I can build a CMG in AWS cloud. No, that the answer is no, right? That should be in Azure cloud only. CMG, CDP, and Intune, everything should be in Azure cloud only. There is no option to have that kind of a service in AWS cloud. So those are services provided by Microsoft, and that is only available in Azure, right? And that is a PaaS solution, PaaS kind of a solution from Microsoft, right? So that is a platform as a service solution. So you cannot build that solution in AWS. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that worked for me, Anup. So I mean, basically, AWS is not working for us, right? I mean, the thing is, like, I'm trying to learn more on AWS stuff. I mean, I worked more on Azure and stuff here at work, but for my personal interest, I'm extending my skills with AWS. So I was trying to configure SCCM in AWS, and I was just trying to see how far AWS can support, right, SCCM. And when I was thinking about it, I was wondering whether CMG, because CMG uses Azure AD and everything, right? So for that reason, I was thinking whether AWS can help or not. Okay. Anyways, yeah. Thank you so much for your explanation. I know that worked.
No worries. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, so I'm going to end this call now. I can wait another 1 minute, another minute. Okay, I think that is it. Thank you all for joining today, and hope this was helpful. See you next time, same place, same time, right? Next Sunday or tomorrow. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you very
all. Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.